Hello. In this episode, I'm going to teach you about variables and talk a little bit more about printing. So, in the last episode, I showed you how to print this in a loop repeatedly using the serial print line. Now, I wanted to show you, before we got into the next stuff, how you would, what program you would write if you wanted to just print high canon once. So what we're going to do is actually just move this to the setup. So remember how in the last video I mentioned that the setup loop only runs once while this loop runs repeatedly. Now that we have our code in setup, I can go over here and left click on upload. Nope, messed it up. I missed semicolon. Hit upload. And then I can click on tools, serial monitor, and I can see it say high canon just once. So if I wanted to make sure that that was working, I could paste back here where I can say by canon. So upload. I always forget my semicolons. Okay, go to tools, serial monitor. And I can see it say by canon a lot. And if I disable auto scroll, I can go over here and see where it wrote high canon. This stuff right here, that's basically when the board and the computer, the robot and the computer are starting to talk, and so it's trying to get rid of some gibberish. Just ignore that and you can look at the important stuff right here. So great, now we know that we can talk to the robot. We can say things just once. Now let's talk about something else. The serial print line is really useful for some other things. So if I wanted to change what it was printing without having to type out what's different in here, I could use something called a variable. So for the variable I'm going to use, it'll be a string. I'm going to call it name. And I'm going to say that actually, I'm going to spell string str. I'm going to say, oops, equals high. And then down here, I'm going to write serial.println. I can't type today, just str. So what's going to happen when the program runs this? It's going to create a new variable called str. And it's going to be equal to high. So what's a variable? Well, a variable is kind of like a placeholder. So right now, if I run this, and then I go over to tools and serial monitor, it'll just say hi a bunch. But if I say str is equal to hello hello and hit upload, and go to tools, serial monitor, it's saying hello hello. So notice, I never changed what's inside here, I just changed what str is equal to. And there's other ways to assign values to str. For example, I can say str is equal to hello canon, and any guesses as to what this is going to print? So think about that and we'll see what it does. So it's saying hello canon. So why would that be? A second ago it was saying hello hello. Well, when the computer runs this program, it's going line by line by line, and going back to the top, line by line by line. So in this first line, I'm creating the variable called str. That's why I wrote the string here. And in this one, it's already made, so I don't need to do it again. And when I created it initially, I said it was equal to hello hello. But then in the next line, I said, wait a second, it's actually equal to hello canon. So if I were to put another print line right here and did str, anybody have any guesses what it will do? Think about that for a second, take some predictions. It's uploading, now it's done uploading. I'm gonna go to serial monitor. And it's going really fast, so I can hit auto scroll, and it's saying, hello, hello, hello Canon, hello, hello, hello Canon. So, that just goes to show that it's going line by line. So what is this variable stuff used for? Well, to start, it doesn't just have to be a string. Anyways, a string is just some characters like this. It can also be numbers. So let's say that I wanted to print how many times the loop has ran. I wanted to count. What I would do is create a new variable for a number. And the variable for a number is called an int, which stands for integer. So I'm going to say int call int num. I'm going to say that it's equal to 0. And right here, I'm going to go serial.println num. So if you take a guess as to what that'll print, see right here, it's just going to print 0 a bunch of time. Now, if I wanted that to increase every single time it runs, I would need to do two things. So for one, I need to go ahead and move this outside of the loop. The reason why is every time it ran this loop, it was recreating the variable num. And if I did that, it would always stay at 0 because I'm always starting it at 0. What I want to do is add to it every time it runs. So here it is going to print num at the very beginning. After that, I want to increase num by 1. So what I'm going to do is say num is equal to num plus 1. So what this is doing is it's taking what num is, right here, and it's adding 1 to it. And then it's saying that's what the num is equal to now. When you are assigning something to a variable, assigning is just meaning what number it has. So right here, I'm assigning it 0. If I wrote num equal to 3, I just assigned it 0. To assign something to num, which is our variable, the thing that we're putting it into, the variable, has to be on the left of an equal sign, and the number that I want it to store has to be on the right. So equal sign takes the thing on the right and puts it into the thing on the left. Does that make sense? So let's just see what this does. We will go over here and hit upload. And then once that's done, we will go to Tools, Serial Monitor. And it's counting really, really quickly. That just shows you how quickly this is going. If I turn off auto scroll, I can see it's increasing by 1 every single time. I've still got high canon in here. So, it's increasing every time. Let's see what else we can do this. What if we said num is equal to num plus 10? Any guesses as to what that'll do? Oh, one thing that I forgot to mention, it's really common to put in what's called a delay down here. All that's doing is it's telling the computer, the robot, to wait for 10 milliseconds. And it may not make a lot of immediate sense, but it just makes sure that the robot's not trying to do too much at once. It's just slowing it down a little bit. It won't affect your code any. It just makes the robot run a little bit better. So now we're going to go hit upload. And we'll go to Serial Monitor. And we can see if we pause it, it's counting by 10 every time. 10, 20, 30, 40. So, you can do some pretty useful stuff with this integer. And we don't have to do just addition, we could do num times 2. So it's not times 2. And any guesses as to what this will do? Might surprise you. It just prints out 0. Why is that? Well, it started as 0, and if we're the computer, what's 0 times 0? It's just equal to 0. Or 0 times 2, equal to 0. And we're just doing that a lot, and so it's staying at 0. What we need to do in order to see something that's not 0 here is make num equal to 1. Now when I run that, it got really, really big. So it went back to 0. And what that means is basically the number got too big for the robot to handle. And we can see how quickly that happened. So 0, 1, 2, 4, 8, all the way over here. So I'm not going to get into why this stops right here, but it's just something to show you. You can use any math operations you want on this side. After that I can say num equals num minus num times 2. Any guesses as to what this will do? And so that did some weird stuff too. But it went negative this time. So yeah, kind of an interesting thing. It's bouncing around. So those are variables. If you have any questions, and if something here is confusing, I would just Google Arduino variables, and there are plenty of tutorials online. The biggest thing with programming is that Google is your friend. Anytime you're confused or stuck, just search it, because I promise you somebody else has had that problem before. Programmers, roboticists, all of them Google things on an almost daily basis. So use it, it's a great tool, and it's your friend.